You're listening to SM Media. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Women's Football Show. I'm Scotty Pike, always a pleasure to be your host. And we have a all-star panel this week. We are delighted as always to be joined by Suzanne Mulvey.
It's great to be back. It's been a while.
It has been a while, there's been a lot happening, we'll get your thoughts on. And welcome our newest panellist to the show. It's a pleasure to welcome Lauren McCulloch.
Hiya, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. We'll obviously speak to you later on about your club, Stenhousemuir. We'll get your thoughts on them later on. But we do have a lot to get into. Suzanne, before we've come on air, I've actually just seen this just now, a wee bit of breaking news. Shelley Kerr is going to be involved with the Hearts men's team, part of the new foundation that's going in there. So, big appointment. I think she's going to be something to do with the player pathway, from what I believe. But she obviously has a history with men's football. I think it's a great step for her.
Definitely. Got a lot of time for Shelley. Played alongside her. And I think we've spoke previously that it's the one manager that I would love to have coached me, because she's just a fantastic person. The passion, the knowledge that she's got is fantastic to see her involved, especially back up here in Scotland. And I know that she is a massive Hearts fan, so she'll be delighted that she's in there with the team that she supports. And I'm sure she'll do an absolutely fantastic job, because she has got so much knowledge of the game, whether it's the men's game or the women's game. So it's really exciting to see how she gets on there.
Yeah, Lauren, obviously Shelley Kerr, massively respected person, and not just the women's game, but the men's game as well. Like, her being involved with Hearts obviously will be very, very close to her, but it's just a brilliant person for women's football.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a good step in the right direction. Obviously having a female representative in the men's game as well. Shelley's obviously got a lot of experience, coaching the national team and stuff, and all the work she does on the BBC as well. So I can only see it as a good thing for Hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll obviously, when I find out more about that, we'll get everybody's thoughts on it. But for now, all I can see is that she's going to be involved in the men's Hearts team in some capacity. As I say, it's literally just come on straight away. I didn't even see it until literally we started recording. But we do have a busy weekend of women's football to talk about. Obviously, Derby weekend last weekend, Suzanne. If you want a perfect example of how Super Sunday can go, watch Celtic versus Rangers in the afternoon and last Sunday. One of the best adverts for women's game I can remember in a long time. And then watch Hibs and Hearts. You couldn't get two polar opposites of games of football.
Yeah, no, obviously fantastic that the big games are rolling in now. We get to see some big games, big players, see how they do. And, with Rangers coming out on top, fantastic result for them. And obviously it keeps him right on the tail of Glasgow City, who are doing amazing at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously the both of those sides won at the weekend. Lauren, did you get your value last weekend? Obviously watching those two games, and it was Derby weekend. The Rangers game was excellent. The Hibs and Hearts game not so much.
Yeah, I didn't really see the Hibs and Hearts game, just because we were playing it at the kind of same time. But the Celtic Rangers game, that was a good one, I think, as well, for Chelsea Cornet coming back from that injury to then score an absolute worldie of a goal to win the game. It's really good for her, and yeah, it was a really good result for Rangers.
Absolutely was. Into this weekend, obviously, we'll start with the 6 games in SWPL. It is still Glasgow City sitting at the top of the table, and 6 different goal scorers and a 6-0 home win over Spartans. Lockwood, Robbo, Kozlova, Forrest, Gambone and Lavera were the goals for City. Leanne Ross was very vocal. She said getting a couple of early goals, controlling the game, and getting that quality as well. When you've got a spread of 6 different goal scorers, Suzanne, like, when you get that, like, obviously missed a penalty as well. Lisa Forrest, I think, was sensational by all reports. Like, City, all they can do is just keep winning.
Yeah, definitely. Lisa Forrest, as you mentioned there, obviously missed the penalty, but it didn't affect her confidence. She's went on to score a goal. But for me, the pick of the bunch was Kozlova's. What a great run and a great finish. The commentator says, right place, right time, but for me it was the run that she made, put herself right in a great position and a great finish. So that was the pick of the bunch. But for them, it's just, they just keep winning. And for me, when I played alongside Leanne Ross, that was just the way it was. It was, let's get our job done. We get the 3 points, we get as many goals as possible, and then we don't have to worry about any other games. We just keep doing what we need to do and see what happens by the end of the season.
Obviously unbeaten in the I think they only looking at the results here, only lost one game in 14, Lauren. Like Glasgow City, obviously when you look at the kind of Rangers and Celtic, the kind of depth they have, and obviously what they've been doing, City again will probably be happy just to be sitting under the radar at the moment and sitting top. Obviously the pressure will be on, but it'll not be as much pressure as they've been under in years gone by when they were dominating.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you look at the investment from like Celtic and Rangers, these side of things, so they're kind of more expected to do really well and kind of storm the league. But I think Glasgow City will be happy with it. The pressure's kind of taking a back seat off them, and they're allowed to just go and play. They can just go and play and do what they're good at, and you're seeing it with the results. I mean, they're top of the league for a reason.
Yeah, obviously Spartans a week before. I don't think they would have been expecting much going to City and getting anything, but they had a massive result the week before. Suzanne 1-3-0 against Montrose. Obviously puts a bit of breathing space for them in the relegation zone. Hannah Jordan a hat trick the week before, and Spartans will be quite happy with that just now.
Yeah, definitely. That just gives them a bit more breathing space, a couple of points ahead of Aberdeen. And they're kind of slowly drifting away from the pack right at the bottom. So a massive result for them last week. And as you say, nobody would be expecting them to get a result this week against Glasgow City the way that they're playing.
Yeah, Lauren, would you go along with that? Obviously Spartans probably in a decent position at the moment.
Yeah, I would say so. I think if you look at the bottom three, there's kind of a little gap starting to open. They could probably still catch Aberdeen. But I think Spartans, as Suzanne said, they've got a little bit of breathing space now, so they can probably relax a little bit.
Rangers obviously sitting in second. They had a bit of an early scare on Sunday. They went 1-0 down against Dundee United. Morgan Steedman with an early goal. But Jane Ross obviously getting a double quite early on. And then you saw Lafay with the third. And then in the second half, Macaulay, Wilkinson, Howitt just getting those goals. Howitt was a penalty, but turned into quite a comfortable afternoon for Rangers. But Suzanne, we mentioned Jane Ross quite a lot, and like when you've got that kind of quick period when she can just turn the game like that, it was a brilliant goal from Steedman, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it, but Jane Ross, obviously, the way she's able to just take control, get those 2 goals, and it just turns the game round for Rangers, and it's just kind of easy street for there.
Yeah, Jenna finds that a great goalkeeper, but every now and again you do see these silly little mistakes, but take nothing away from the finish. It was a really good finish. But when you've got players like Jane Ross, I mean, coming into the side, the power that they've got up front, we adding Jane Ross to that, they're just looking, stronger than ever. And Jane Ross is a goal scorer. She's always looking for, whatever scraps are in and around the box. Not only she looks for the scraps, but she's a great creator of goals. She links up play, just a fantastic all-round player, and obviously somebody that I admire a lot, and absolutely fantastic to see her with a double. And again, just shut and dry like Glasgow City. Although it was an early scare, you knew that they were always going to get the 3 points with the firepower they've got up front.
Yeah, and that's obviously something coming out of the game as well. That they did say, obviously the Rangers coaching staff did say that it wasn't their best start, and by their standards it wasn't good enough. But they grew into the game, and it is all about that, isn't it? When you've got the depth that they do in attacking areas, Lauren. If you have that slow start, it's quite important not to panic because they do have the firepower to get out of it.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, I think Celtic went 1-0 down as well against Montrose, and I think it's just a case of you kind of poke the bear a little bit if you score early. And as you said, Rangers have got so much talent up front. You always knew they were going to turn it around.
Obviously, Suzanne Susie at Dundee United, she said she was really proud of the efforts and obviously executed the game plan. She'll obviously have been hoping for more points at this time of the season. They do have a couple of big games coming up. Obviously, they go to Celtic next. They play Celtic at home next, but then they've got a game against Spartans. Sorry, they're home to Hibs first, then they're away to Queen's Park, and then they're away to City, and then I think they play Celtic. So it's what we talk about a lot. It's the games against the teams that you're going to be round about that they need to win, and they need to start winning them quickly.
Yeah, definitely. 6 points, their nearest rivals, so they do, or 6 points behind their nearest rivals, so they definitely need to get a win, at least before kind of we come up to Christmas, they need at least another win, just so that they're not right behind the pack. If Queen's Park get another win, then a 9-point gap is absolutely massive. So they do need to try and get something soon. They've been really unfortunate a few games, just kind of last minute or whatever. So they've been quite unfortunate. But Susie won't throw in the towel. I know her personally, and I know that she will keep fighting and right to the very death. She'll give 100% and expect the same from her players as well.
Yeah, and obviously, Lauren, it is those kind of games against the teams round about them. Like they probably should have won against Aberdeen a few weeks ago. They should have got something against Montrose. Like those are the games that they're needing to get out of, and they're in a position now. And again, goal difference doesn't really matter at this point, but it's 10 point. They're already 10 points behind. It's getting to that stage where they need to just find a win for somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's small margins, but it is a mountain to climb, I think, already, especially, with the 3 teams going down this season. So it looks like a mountain to climb, but I'm sure they'll give it their best shot and try their best to get themselves out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hearts obviously sitting in third. They won 2-0 away to Aberdeen. Suzanne, before we get into Hearts, Scott Booth obviously made his comeback into management in the SWPL. I don't think we spoke about that since we've been last on. Now the manager of Aberdeen. A very interesting journey he's been on since he left Glasgow City. It's quite ambitious for Aberdeen to go for him.
Yeah, and kind of back up to his hometown, comfortable for him, and obviously quite a challenge. It is different, kind of, position from what he has been at previously. Obviously joining Glasgow City and then going from them sitting top of the table to then go to Aberdeen, who are fighting kind of right down at the relegation battle. Big challenge for him, but one that he's more than capable of. He's got a wealth of experience in the women's game. So I think that's probably why he's taken on the thought of doing something on his own as the manager, and obviously kind of pushing his own coaching abilities to see if he can keep them out of that relegation zone.
Lauren, what kind of impact can somebody like that, who obviously had a really good career as a player, as one at the highest level in Scotland in terms of being a women's coach, to get him in for a side like Aberdeen, who probably are at that kind of level where they just want to stay up this season? How important is that for confidence, getting somebody like Scott Booth in?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an inspiring appointment, to be perfectly honest. I think, as you said, he's got a wealth of experience in the women's game and the men's game as a player. I think, again, he'll enjoy the challenge. It's a different situation for him, going from kind of winning league titles with Glasgow City to being in a relegation scrap, really. So I think he'll want the challenge, and I think the players will want to live up to that as well.
What about Hearts? Suzanne obviously winning 2-0 on Sunday. Goals from Richard and Timms. Eva wasn't happy with the performance. This is a quote: "We were not playing as we should be playing. We had free spaces. We had free players we couldn't see. Aberdeen played very aggressively, but we were playing through the pressure." She wasn't pleased with the performance, I think, is the summary there, but she'll probably be happy with the result.
Yeah, I think, going away to Aberdeen, it's always a tough game. The travel, the location. So to come away with the 3 points and a clean sheet, I think is a great result. But in terms of the performance, I can see why she's disappointed, because they did dominate the game. Waldy had kind of one off the line. They maybe had another chance, and that was kind of about it. It was a very dominant performance, but I think she's just disappointed that it was only the 2 goals, and maybe that they didn't create a lot more clear-cut chances. But great result. Still sitting up there, putting pressure on the other top side. So for me, I think it is an off performance, but it doesn't matter. They've got the result. So a great result and a great 3 points for them.
Lauren, very much a game of two halves by the sounds of it, but I think the difference was Hearts get their goals in the first half, and Aberdeen, despite having a lot of chances, just couldn't get anything out of it.
Yeah, I think that just shows you that Hearts are a good side. As much as they maybe didn't play well, they took their chances when they presented themselves, and as Suzanne says, it keeps the pressure on the top teams. And I think this season more than ever, you've got your Hearts and your Hibs challenging for those top spaces rather than it just being a 2 or 3 horse race.
Yeah, absolutely. Celtic obviously had to overcome an early scare as well. They were very much on the looking to get back to winning ways after quite a difficult week. 5-1 home win against Montrose. An early goal from Brown for Montrose gave them the lead, but Celtic, Saoirse Noonan with a hat-trick, Amy Gallagher scoring and an own goal. Like, obviously, Montrose, fair play to them for taking the lead, but when you've got players like Noonan, who we spoke about at the start of the season, like, she provided a spark for Celtic, and you could see that she just took that game. Suzanne?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. A great opener for Montrose, and I think it's pretty much the same as with Glasgow City and with Rangers. You know that they are probably going to come away with the victory in these games. But obviously for Montrose getting the opener, and obviously like Lauren mentioned, it is like poking the bear. As soon as they concede, it just kind of inspires them more. Their first goal, I think, a bit of controversy. It could have possibly been a foul to Montrose, and the Montrose players were a bit disappointed in that. But even if that had been chalked off, I think they probably still would have went on to take the 3 points anyway. And Noonan's, looking very sharp, and at the start of the season maybe wasn't playing as regularly as she would have liked, but now she looks like she's a regular and firing all cylinders, which is fantastic for Celtic because they are the kind of team that do need a striker that's firing, unlike Rangers, who have got quite a few forward players and quite a few strikers to choose from. Celtic haven't been blessed with that over the past few seasons, so they do need somebody that is going to create a lot of chances and score a lot of goals for them.
Lauren, how important was it for Celtic to get back to winning ways and kind of make a statement performance like that? And like obviously Saoirse, I thought was really, really good the other night in the Champions League, but she probably missed too many chances for her liking. But to get a hat trick, it'll boost her confidence as well.
Yeah, 100%. She's been on fire recently. But I think for Celtic it was just a case of getting 3 points on the board again because they're kind of sitting fifth in the table, which is probably not where they want to be. But I think off the back of playing, midweek to weekend, it does take its toll on the players and probably something they're not used to. So they'll just be happy to get the 3 points and keep up the pace.
Hibs obviously dropped points as well. They dropped down to fifth, a 1-1 draw against Partick Thistle. Bowie with a goal for Hibs, and then Partick Thistle equalised through Cara Henderson. Like in terms of Hibs, Suzanne, like obviously scoring early. I think both goals came in the space of a minute. I think I'm right in saying. I don't think there was much time between the goals at all, but to score probably didn't take the chances in the second half to win the game. It'll feel a big body blow that losing 2 points at home.
Yeah, it was a good goal from Bowie, and then the equaliser for Henderson was fantastic. Partick Thistle, I thought they looked off the pace. The first half, I thought they just kind of weren't pressing hard enough, weren't matching Hibs if you like. But in the second half, a much better performance, and obviously a big miss for Ferguson to take all 3 points for Hibs. And the only other really talking point from that is the red card from Georgia Gray, who I know she's a fantastic young player, but I feel that there was possibly a kick beforehand. It could have been 2 red cards. Maybe a bit harsh, but yeah, she's obviously kicked out, so that's why she's been given the red.
Lauren, fair decision, the red card, do you think?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it maybe just a wee bit of inexperience, but Georgia Gray, she is a fantastic player, and I'm sure she'll learn from it.
And obviously sticking with Partick Thistle, Lauren, Cara Henderson, when you've got a player like that, like she is the sort of player who can get you big moments. She's perfect in these sort of games where you're maybe not expecting Partick Thistle to get in and out of the game. Comes up with a stunning goal, and it's probably a massive point for Partick Thistle.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think Brian Graham said that at the end of the game as well. But I think Cara Henderson's shown, season on season, she's always reliable for the big games, and she just proved that again at the weekend.
Into the final game in SWPL, obviously Motherwell, big chance for them. Obviously, they gained 2 points on Partick Thistle in the race for sixth. They won 6-1 at home at Queen's Park. Louisa Boys with a hat trick, Blythe Clark, Collins, and Gibb with the goals. Louisa Boys is something I've been wanting to touch on, Suzanne, because when obviously we do the Player of the Week every week, and you look at the kind of numbers she's getting, and you look at the kind of impact she's having in games. Like if Motherwell every single week, she seems to be their standout player. And again, another hat trick.
Yeah, fantastic. Great for her confidence going forward. And I thought, again, Motherwell, the team over the past few seasons, we've said they're hit or miss, whereas this season, nearly every week they're hitting, which is fantastic for them. The only signs was, a couple of chances from Queen's Park where the defending wasn't great, but luckily they didn't concede apart from the Emma Craig goal, which was a fantastic strike. But there was other warning signs where defensively they never cleared their lines quick enough. But apart from that, 6 goals, obviously conceding just the one, and they're looking good. And with players like Boyce, they are always going to score goals. So it's good for them to be pushing up and challenging the teams for around about that 6th spot.
Yeah, obviously Motherwell scored 6 goals against Queen's Park away in September as well. I think boys didn't score that day. It was Berry. They get 4 that day, if I remember correctly. but boys obviously scored the hat-trick. Lauren, such an important player, and Motherwell obviously, I don't think Motherwell there's any threat at all, even at the start of the season they've been relegated, but they want to finish in that 6th place, and they're looking the best equipped to do so at the moment.
Yeah, I think over the last couple of seasons, they have been a bit inconsistent. But I think Paul Brownlee, he struck a really nice balance this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Louisa Boys has been fantastic, probably their standout player. You've obviously got a couple of young ones, Sophie Black, Mason Blythe Clark on loan from Rangers, who are bringing a kind of youthful side to the Motherwell game. But you've also got Jill Ingalls and Joe Addy as well, who bring that experience. So they've got a nice balance. So I think he struck that well this year, and hopefully they do get the top 6 that they want.
Absolutely. We'll move into SWPL 2. A bit of a kind of changing weekend there. Obviously, Hamilton, their unbeaten run came to an end. They lost 3-2 at home to Boroughmuir. Lot to get into with this game, obviously. Like, you look at the week before, the 1-6-1, they had that rain space. Hamilton were 2-0 up here, Suzanne. McIntosh and Gerrard scoring before half-time. And then Boroughmuir come back into the second half. A double from Aitchison and a goal from Borthwick. And what a huge result for Boroughmuir. But again, there are maybe this Hamilton team's beatable. We didn't think it for a while, but they are now.
Yeah, and a fantastic result for Boroughmuir. We've spoken about them, quite a lot in terms of the experience that they added. A lot of players from Spartans joined Boroughmuir, and I think that's kind of showed. If you're 2-0 down and you're managing to come back, I think that shows a great deal of character and experience. So fantastic result for them, and like you said, it shows now that Hamilton are beatable, and I think that will be a bit of added incentive, especially for the likes of Kilmarnock, knowing that they can stay right on the tail of Hamilton.
Yeah, obviously it's still an 8-point gap between Hamilton and Kilmarnock, but you look at Hamilton though, that they're probably thinking Lauren at 2-0. I know they won't be saying this, but they'll be thinking at 2-0 like we've been here before, we kind of just see the game out, but you've got to hand it to Boroughmuir for sticking at it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected Boroughmuir to come back after Accies went 2-0 up. If anything, you probably thought Accies would maybe go and get a third or a fourth. But Boroughmuir did spectacularly well to come back, and I think Beth McLeod went in goals for the last minute or so, saved a penalty. So I think that's when kind of luck's on your side there, and they did really well. You can't knock them for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Beth McLeod obviously getting a lot of plaudits for going in. I think the goalie gets sent off, am I right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen that, yeah. Fair play to Bethan for doing that, but massive result for Boroughmuir. Kilmarnock, obviously, big opportunity for them to take advantage, and they absolutely did. Suzanne, 6-1 home win over St Johnstone, and although it cuts the gap to 8 points, it's still a bit of a gap, but all you can do is win the game if the advantage is there.
Yeah, definitely. They're a side that have been very strong this season, Kilmarnock, and they keep getting the results. And I think that is the important thing, just to stay right on the tail of Hamilton. And obviously, it's shown that Hamilton can be beaten now, so they just need to keep winning games and hope that Hamilton slip up more and obviously take advantage when they come up against them.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, Kilmarnock go to Livingston next game out. But as I say, like the way Kilmarnock have got to go about this at the moment is just win games. They had a disappointing result against Boroughmuir the week before, and they lost to Hamilton the week before that. So, like, it's massive. That was a massive opportunity for Kilmarnock to get some points, Lauren.
Yeah, it definitely was, and I think as long as Kilmarnock can just strike that bit of consistency and keep winning, as you said, you never know what can happen. Like, they obviously capitalised on Accies getting beat this week, and they just need to continue to do that if the opportunity presents itself.
Gartcairn, obviously another side that have been quite impressive so far. Obviously won the last two. They won 3-2 away to Rossvale. Rossvale coming off the back of a massive result the week before against Livingston. Gartcairn, obviously they went 1-0 up inside the first minute. Rossvale went 2-1 ahead, and Gartcairn went on to score 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to win the game. And Gartcairn are a side, obviously, like you're looking at that kind of second to fifth. There's only 4 points between it, and Gartcairn, if they get more wins on the board, they can be up there.
Yeah, they had a very poor season last season, but this season they're looking strong. They're looking like they are, up there and wanting to challenge for, possibly a playoff spot. But yeah, definitely impressive, and obviously, again, shown character, 2-1 down and managing to get the victory and fighting right to the end and scoring 2 late goals. Fantastic for them, and it kind of puts them in a good position to keep going forward and keep looking to catch up with teams ahead of them, definitely.
Lauren, obviously, Gartcairn, scoring 2 goals late on, that's kind of down to a lot of experience they have in their side, and it kind of can be all the difference at this stage of the season.
Yeah, I think so. I was at that game.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and I definitely think when Gutkin brought on Kayla, McDonald and Glah, like that changed the game. You know what Kayla brings. Kayla brings goals. They pushed Harry McGonigal further up, and they really did go for it in the closing stages, and they capitalised on it and managed to get the 2 goals. Up until that point, it was pretty even. I think both sides would have been happy with a draw. But you can't fault Gutkin's effort at the end for just going for it.
Would you think, obviously, Rossvale coming into the SWPL, obviously, were very, very impressive 2 seasons ago. These sides obviously were kind of neck and neck for a while in the Championship, Lauren. How do you think they've coped with the SWPL so far?
Look, I think they've done well. I think obviously moving up into SWPL 2, it brings a new challenge. They're obviously sitting, I think, 3 or 4 points clear of St Johnstone in the relegation playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd have said that at the start of the season, they'd be happy with it. Obviously started off strong, tailed off a little bit, but they've got the players to go on and do well and compete in the league. And I think that's all they want to do is just go and compete.
Yeah, Livingston, obviously, another team. They won 2-0 away to Ayr United. Both goals coming in the second half from Rachel Walkinshaw. And Suzanne, obviously, they've struggled quite a bit. Livingston, they've kind of been up and down, a bit inconsistent. But they've got the same number of wins as Kilmarnock and Boroughmuir. It's just they need to go on that run that maybe Boroughmuir are on at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. They are. I think they're having quite a strong season in terms of, like you said, equal wins with them. But obviously Ayr aren't kind of doing too well this season, so it's probably a result that most people did expect anyway. And like you said, they just need to start kind of stringing the good results together, and then hopefully they start kind of leapfrogging the other teams ahead of them.
Yeah, I thought, Lauren, looking at kind of Livingston result, I thought that game against Boroughmuir back in October was massive. They scored a 95th minute winner to get the points that day, and you thought that might be the turning point in their season. Then they lose away to Rossvale, and you're thinking, right, they're maybe hitting that kind of run again. But it's about building on this, and you look at what they've got coming up before Christmas. They play Kilmarnock at home. It's a massive opportunity for Livingston to make a statement.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think I keep saying it, but it is all about consistency. I think that's kind of been Livingston's downfall. 1 week they can look absolutely brilliant, and then the next, they kind of lose their form a little bit. But I think they will be looking ahead to the game against Kilmarnock as a massive opportunity to really start climbing the table and getting a string of results together.
Yeah, absolutely. And just obviously quickly, we didn't have any Championship or League One games. I think it was the Championship Cup. But Lauren, I just want to get your thoughts on how tight the Championship's looking. First to sixth, there's only 5 points between 6 teams. You've got likes of Renfrew and Stenhousemuir, obviously close by as well. The Championship looks as competitive as I've ever seen it, by the way.
Yeah, look, we say it every year. I think it's probably the tightest league in Scotland, and I think this year's no different. In fact, it's probably even tighter. Any team can beat anyone on a given week, and I think it's just shown over the past couple of weeks with the results. We beat East Fife, who were flying at the top of the league, but then East Fife go and beat Stirling Uni 4-1 to then reclaim that spot. And yeah, it is a tight league.
What do you think of the kind of teams? Who's the kind of most impressive team you've come up against so far, do you think?
I would say Stirling Uni have looked good
this
year in terms of a footballing side. East Fife obviously finished last season really, really strongly. Started this season really strongly. They've kind of tailed off a little bit, but in terms of footballing side, I would say Stirling have looked the best.
Okay, Suzanne. Obviously there's a few sides in there like Glasgow Women, like Falkirk. There's Forfar as well. They've had a decent start. There's a lot of sides in there that've got a lot of ambition. How hard is it going to be for teams to get out of that league?
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing out of the whole league is that, kind of teams can take points off everybody else. It is, like Lon said, it's so tight. And I think it is just a kind of case of trying to be as consistent as possible and, getting the results for your own team and not worrying about anybody else. And then obviously at the tail end of the season, just hope that you're at the right end because it is so tight. And again, like what Lon said, it's just such an exciting league and so tight that it does make Scottish women's football that much more exciting. Looking at the start of the season, you couldn't predict where any of the teams were going to be. So for me, that's the most exciting thing, that literally over the course of a couple of weeks, the league could change so much. And it just makes it really, really exciting for the kind of neutral to stay in touch and keep an eye on how things are going.
If you want a result, just how crazy that league is, Lauren. Stirling Uni 9, Inverness 0 in the cup at the weekend. Like that sums it up, doesn't it? Like
Oh, it does.
you're not predicting that.
No,
Nobody is.
when I seen that result come through, I was shocked. Inverness are a good side. They have been
They
for
won
the last
16
couple of
0 the
seasons.
weekend before, didn't they?
Yeah, so it's absolutely insane just how it can flip. Stirling Uni must have been on it that day because I don't know what's happened up there. But no, I was as shocked as anyone to see that.
And into kind of League One quickly as well. Obviously, St Mirren kind of setting the standard. But I want to touch on like the sides that have come up that have done pretty well. Like Armadale have started brilliantly. Inverurie, Dunipace and Colwynnon have all started well. Like it shows you as well, these sides are coming up, Lauren, and they're not just there to make up the numbers. They're there to move up the leagues.
Yeah, 100%. I think, if I just touch on Armadale in particular, because I've played against them this season and
Mm-hmm.
they're a really good side. They're really structured in how they play. You can tell they've got a real style of play. And to think they were playing in the recreational league, just last season, like it is crazy to think. And I think it does show that these teams are going up and they're competing.
Yeah.
They're not wanting just to be there to kind of fight at the bottom. They want to go up to the championship and compete up there as well. So it is good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly before we kind of move into what's coming up in terms of kind of Celtic in the Champions League, Suzanne, very, very tough group they've been in so far. What have you kind of made of them?
A tough one, because every game is such a tough game. And it's just for me, it's about getting that experience, in the groups, the first Scottish team to get into the group stages of the Champions League, and nobody's really expecting them to take any points to get any results. But I think it's the most important thing is the performances, and it's going out there and trying to compete as much as possible. And I think they showed that in terms of their performance at home against Chelsea. People will say, it's a second string Chelsea team, but that second string Chelsea team is absolutely phenomenal, and there's no taking away for any players that are on the pitch. Yeah, they're possibly as better players on the bench or that came on at half time, but it's such a strong team and such a strong squad that for them to kind of compete with them for such a long period of time was, it was fantastic to see, and obviously, very unlucky that they maybe didn't steal a wee point. But yeah, it's just such tough games, and it is just about the gaining the experience, because what they learn from this season and these games, they will be able to take into next season if they qualify for the Champions League. And the players in the squad need to learn from any opportunity that they get that they can take going forward. That's the most important thing.
Lauren, what have you made of Celtic in the Champions League so far?
I think they've done well. I think the Chelsea game at home was a prime example of that. They competed, throughout the game. They were quite unlucky. I think you look at the sides they've drawn against, they probably couldn't have been drawn in a tougher group, to be perfectly honest. But as I said, it's a learning curve for them, and they'll only use that to fuel them for the next few seasons if they qualify.
And obviously Real Madrid coming up next in the 11th of December. I think we'll maybe do something on that next. But massive games coming up for Scotland again. This is what we want to see. 2 games coming up. Finland at home, Finland at Easter Road, then away to Finland on the 3rd of December. Suzanne, these 2 games, get out of them, you're into Euros. It's that it. That's it.
A bit of a possibility for them to get a bit of revenge after the last playoffs against Finland, where they got kind of knocked out. So great opportunity. And the squad's very different to what it was then. There's some really, really top players that are playing in top leagues. The likes of, I think massive for me is Caroline Weir.
Yes.
Having her back and the way that she's playing and, scoring goals for Real Madrid, I think that she's a kind of player that no matter what players are around her or what team they're playing against, she will always look to get on the ball, be very composed and create chances. And for me, that's what they need. They need to create as many chances as possible against Finland. Finland are a good side, but I think that Scotland are very capable of getting the result if the players, that can play at the top level do turn up and have good performances. Fingers crossed, but I think they can do it.
What do you think of the squad? Is there any names that are maybe missing that you're surprised? Kirsty McLean, think maybe big miss there.
Yeah, it's with players like Caroline Weir coming back in, it's kind of tough, and then it's kind of when you look about. For me, there's not many surprises in terms of it is the same kind of players. And obviously with Caroline coming in as well, as I say, that's just a massive, massive boost. You know, when I seen the score and I looked through it, for me there wasn't much surprises at all. But yeah, just a really exciting time, and obviously a couple of big games. And hopefully they get a massive support at Easter Road before they head over to Finland.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, Lauren, that's how big would it be? Like, how big an achievement would it be to get into Euros? I know, obviously, Finland last time's a pretty sour one, but the chances, Suzanne says, to enact revenge, and you've just got to hope they can.
Yeah, I think the difference between this time and last time, I think, Scotland have been there, playoff had that heartache, and I think they can use that to fuel them this time and, rectify that in a sense. And I think if they did qualify for the Euros, the squad's in probably as best a place as it could be. Obviously Kirsten McLean's missed out this time. She'll be more than ready to go for the Euros next year. As well, Caroline Weir, and all of your big players as such. I think they've got enough to get past Finland. I just think, as Suzanne said, all the big players just need to turn up and prove that they can do it.
Right, score predictions quickly, Suzanne. What we get in the aggregate score? Hold you to this in the next show.
I think 2-0. I think maybe 2-1 or 3-1 aggregate for Scotland.
Okay, big statement. Lauren, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I was going to say 3-1 on aggregate, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll go for 2-1 to Scotland. I think they will get a result. I actually fancy them for some reason to win away. I think they'll get something. I think they'll win in the by classic smash and grab, 1-1. They'll draw at home and you think all kind of hope's gone, and then they get a result away. I can see it 2-1 Scotland. Oh, fingers crossed we're on the next show.
We'll take that.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed we're talking about Scotland getting into the Euros in the next episode. But we're going to wrap up the show there, guys. Can't thank you enough. As always, Suzanne, a pleasure.
Thanks very much. It's great to be back and looking forward to the next one already.
Absolutely. And Lauren, thank you very much for coming on. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it too.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks very much to everyone that's tuned in. Follow us on social media for consistent women's football content. And as always, like and subscribe for the podcast and YouTube. Thank you very much.